So, as this title is, we do need a new world order. Now, I've just done another video on house prices, and I admit it's a little bit doom and gloomy, but I thought it wasn't worth me sticking gloss on it for the sake of trying to make it a nice video, because I think it was worth me telling the truth. On YouTube you can't say things like that. You have to say it's my opinion, and my opinion is what I said in that video. But I've done a couple of videos recently, and I suppose they're all in this vein of the world economy and our zeitgeist right now, that the world that we live in the context of the economic backdrop and the problems that we're facing and the recent events in this world. So the recent the last 2 years that we've just all gone through, and the war that's taking place, and this Russian invasion of Ukraine. This is very serious, because all the ingredients are there for there to be a world war, a new world war. And in fact, some people claim it is World War III. I'm going to say though that my goodness, it's bad right now, and it can get much worse. I'm going to stop short of saying it will get worse, although I can't really say that either, because for some people, it is terrible. Their life has been ripped from them. They've lost people. They've been harmed themselves. So this war in Ukraine is terrible. And I think I've mentioned in other videos, I think Russia, in particular Putin, I think he's made a huge mistake. I think he's been ill-informed, and it's going to harm Russia, this war. I think they've really miscalculated things, and it's a bad thing. So the reason I mentioned the war right now is because it's created some big problems on the food, on the world food stage. It's caused economic problems, mainly for Russia itself, and for some other countries that relied on Russian energy, and for one reason or another they're not able to access that energy anymore. So that will have a knock-on effect. But basically, it's not good news. It's really not a good thing right now. Now, the other thing that's really, really impacting us today is what's happened over the last 2 years, and the printing of money that they did, because in their opinion it is what was needed to keep the world functioning whilst we're all locked down. And it has created a huge economic problem today, and we're all facing it, and we're all going to be subject to it. Now, at this point, I have to say once again, I am offering a lot of my opinions, and I'm going to generalize a lot to make a point. So what I say in this video is heavily my opinion, and to varying degrees I can be wrong, but I suppose the value is I have an opinion, and I can offer it. So, a world order. Now, often when people say a new world order, that sentence is attached to conspiracy theories and woo-woo stuff. People that like governments, that like the establishment, that like the status quo, they instantly tarnish anybody else that says a new world order with a brush that basically says this person is weak, they don't know what they're talking about, they like conspiracy theories, they're basically a pain in the bum. Often, in context, that phrase, that's what it means to a certain type of person. Now, in another video, I have explained that we actually have new world orders very often, believe it or not. And it's always to do with technology. Technology is simply, it develops over a decade, over a short period of time. It creates something that reduces labor-intensive activity or capability. It ends up in consumer products, and it changes the way that we behave. And it tends to have a knock-on effect to employment. So we go through these changes anyway. Technology changes or financial resets. Now, I don't think anyone can argue that we are going through a financial reset right now, because energy prices have doubled and trebled. House prices are still going up. Inflation is going up. Wage value in real terms for most people is going down. So what is actually happening is people are getting poorer. That is the new world order that we are in right now. People are getting poorer. Most people are getting poorer. Now, I suppose, somebody might say, hey Stephen, but we can measure the quality of life this way, and we actually have a model, we actually have something that suggests that the quality of life isn't getting poorer on the whole. The standard of living has gently been increasing the last 50 years. And if you want to measure it that way, I would say, yes, half of your argument's going to be true. For many people, health issues, healthy living is happening. There are other measurements that you can use that suggest that the quality of life is getting better, or it isn't getting dramatically worse, is what I'm claiming. But I would say, taking a wide macro view, when we look at countries like India, for a lot of Russians, a lot of Eastern European countries, in fact, a lot of America actually, a lot of developed countries, a lot of the general population are in real terms getting financially poorer. So no part of that suggests that your standard of living is the same or getting better, when quite tangibly people have less money, they can buy less stuff. Now, we have the World Economic Forum saying things like, by 2030, most people are going to have less stuff, if not that they will own nothing, and yet they're going to be happier. I mean, this has been said by the World Economic Forum members, and one person in particular. It's been said. That is their understanding of the world. That is what they are seeing. This is the new world order as they see it. Now, right now in 2022, all the evidence that you need to suggest that in 2030 that's going to be a reality is right there in front of your very eyes. These people are not messing about. They are telling you what's going to happen in the future. Let's go back to that sentence. You will own nothing and you will be happy. So just let that sink in. By 2030, you, the general public, will own nothing and you're going to be happy. Now, yes, you could argue that we'll own nothing, but we'll have access to more stuff that's very useful. Arguably, transportation might be better. We will all be using the shared economy. We shall be ride sharing more. Taxis, buses, trains will be more efficient because they'll all be electric. There might even be a new format of energy aircraft then. We might even have electric aircraft, though the energy density fact is a problem there, so I can't see that in the next 8 years. our handheld devices, our computers, might be a little bit cheaper, relatively speaking. They're going to be massively more capable, that is for sure. So our society and culture might have changed. And there could be some measurements that suggest that people are happier because they, in actual fact, own less stuff, but they have access to more resources, they have access to more activities, they socialize more. So that is the positive and is plausible, and that could be what was meant by you are going to own less or nothing, but yet you'll be happier. So I am happy to accept that that's the point that they are making, that's what they're heading for. And the subtext of that is we're dealing with climate change, we as a people are using less resources, we're using less energy, and we have had an impact on society where people on the whole are more happier. Now, proof will be in the pudding. Let's get to 2030 and see how all that pans out. My hunch is that that statement is describing dystopia on the back of more totalitarian governments that will be called democracies, but this will just be a word that's describing a much more authoritarian, totalitarian government style. And I'm talking about the West, not China or the Middle East. I'm describing the West. The West will have more autocratic, totalitarian government structures that will be called democracies. That is what I think is happening. That's what I think we're going to get. And that can be achieved by simply controlling the political environment and legislating how we vote and how those votes are received and who you can vote for. That's how you can end up with a dictatorship dressed up as a democracy. So yes, but I'm happy to accept that I could be wrong, I might be wrong, hopefully I am wrong. I don't think I want me to be right, but I want to put this out there because it will act as a reference point, as hopefully a feedback mechanism for some people in which to have a baseline on. Perhaps in a few years' time, videos like this will be referenced as, well, this is what people thought back then, and today what we have is an awful lot like what was predicted back then. So therefore we should look at lots of people that had this similar view, and then we should look at what they think things were going to look in the future, because it's just a quick way to predict the future by looking what's happened at the past, looking at what the general consensus was and projecting that into the future. And that can often, quite accurately, 80% determine what the future might look like. Now, the reason that I'm making this video, and videos like this should be made, is because it provides awareness to people. It explains what things might look like. It's, if you like, political feedback or social feedback. It's very important stuff. It's stuff that should be spoken about in society, in culture, and in particular in government, because it should help a government keep their train on the rails. This is what could happen. This might actually happen. On the face of it, it doesn't sound good. We need to be thinking about policy that keeps us on the right tracks and that benefits society. So this is why we need to have these points of view. It's why we should be looking at these points of view, and we should be working towards discounting them or proving that they will not happen. Because the consequences of what these guys are saying are a negative, and there are other problems, all to do with managing society and inequality and social unrest. So, again, it's another hard-hitting video, I suppose. Do we need a new world order? We do need a new world order, but unfortunately, I don't think the general public are going to have much of a say on what that new world order is, because it is already in progress. The results of what's happening today, June 2022, are already predicting, they are going to predict an outcome that will come and hit us next year, and in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, and 10 years' time. The writing is on the wall right now. Massive levels of inequality, a very divided society, some very unpleasant social unrest, possibly. These are big problems that society is going to face, and governments need to be aware of, and they need to have it in their sights right now. And they need to be discussing it on a train that's on the rails. I haven't even mentioned climate change in this video. I haven't even mentioned other money mechanics related problems that we are dealing with and facing right now. The reason that we have inflation, the reason that we have quantitative tightening, which is basically central banks printing less money. The knock-on effect being that the man in the street has less money to buy products, which instantly has a negative impact on the economy anyway, so you have these negatives that are creating a larger negative. We have some big problems, and also what is happening is we are experiencing a very weird censorship in the West. I'm not even talking about China, the Middle East here, where they really do impose censorship. You're not allowed to talk about the government, basically. You're not allowed to criticize the government. You're not allowed to do anything that threatens the government. And you might be a 13-year-old person, and you're just not allowed to talk about it. But in the West, and I'm talking North America, America, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, Israel, Canada, North America, I said that. We are heading into a direction where you're not allowed to talk, criticize government policy. We're not there yet. Right now, you can have a negative view about politicians, you can have a negative view about governments, and you can criticize them. But I think it's only a matter of time that we will be able to offer criticism like this. Unfortunately, I think it is highly likely, it is possible, that in the near future in the West we're going to have censorship on everything, just like China and the Middle East and Russia. I mean, Russia, do you know in Russia right now, you are not allowed to criticize Russian policy or Russian statements or anything that Putin says to do with the war in Ukraine. You're not allowed to offer an opinion, you simply can't. That means Russia right now is run by a dictator, and he has installed a totalitarian, autocratic dictatorship in Russia. That's what Russia has right now. China's the same, and so's the Middle East. These are large places, lots of people. They have that right now, and the West is following them. It's terrible. We should be talking about it now. It is a problem. Our governments should not be going down this slippery slope. And related to this, another one of my videos it talks about censorship and social credit scoring. You might have seen it. Again, I do apologize for all this miserable content that I'm offering. But I think it's important. It should be said and it should be out there. Now, I'm going to bring this video to an end because I don't want to make everyone's life a misery today. Because if you've just watched the housing price problem video, you're going to be pretty miserable after watching this as well. So I do apologize. The positives are that right now we can talk about it. That right now society, people, governments have some awareness of these issues. Some very clever people, some prominent people, some decision makers have sight of these issues and they are talking about them. And that is a great positive thing right now. Simply the fact that we have awareness of it. So I'm offering that as a huge positive, and it's something that can very realistically create change that's a positive, that's in the right direction. So I think what I'm doing there is I'm celebrating people and normal people that see truth, that search for truth, that simply want the world to be good and serve everyone, an equal and fair society. I know that a lot of people say that can't happen because we're not all equal and we can't be fair. It just doesn't work. I understand that's an opinion, and I understand people can explain why, why it's that way. And I'm probably one of them, actually. I can explain why society, it will not work if it's fair, and not everyone is equal. I can offer an explanation why that is the case, and that's for another video. Anyway, for this video, I hope everyone is okay, and I hope I haven't depressed you too much. Maybe if you're listening to this to put you to sleep, I hope you sleep well, and I wish you a very happy day today, and I look forward to seeing you all again.